arises in us. Okay, so on the previous verses, we'll see a few quotes from Srila Prabhupada. This is on the first 4 verses Srila Prabhupada is speaking. Please read. I think so. Please pass the mic behind they never get a chance to read. Give to Sundaran.
The similar position is of the present world. My dear Vyasadeva, the author of all Vedic literature, you are such a learned scholar. You have produced such vastly scholarly and philosophical theses, books, and still you are not happy. So did you try to find out what is the cause? The similar position is of the present world. There is so much advancement of scientific research, result, economic. Of course, in India there may be poverty stricken, but in your country you have got ample, everything ample. But still, a section is confused and frustrated. Why? The same position as Vyasadeva was not satisfied even after producing so many variety of literatures in material science and philosophy and religion, and everything was complete. So therefore Narada Muni is asking, my dear Vyasadeva, you are a great personality, but do you think as long as one is situated in the bodily plane or in the mental plane, does he derive any pleasure? This is the question.
Yes. So in the present day situation also, people are simply on the bodily platform, mental platform. So therefore, in spite of so much advancement in so many different fields, people are not satisfied and happy. Okay, this is on the second verse. Read.
Reciprocation.
No, Papa. Aditya.
Reciprocation. There must be study and inquiry. Jigyasitam adhitam cha. And not only simply you have inquired, but you have studied fully. There are many inquisitive persons, inquire so many things, but do not study. Reciprocation. There must be study and inquiry, just like a nice scholar in the college. He inquires from the professor at the same time studies. So the process of acquiring knowledge is to study and to inquire.
So not that one simply inquires, keeps inquiring, but doesn't do any study. So one does not study, one will never be able to understand in spite of so much of inquiry. So of course the whole process that Tadvidhi, Pranipatena, Pariprashnena, Seva, everything should be there. Then one will be able to understand. Okay.
So you are a devotee of such personality of Godhead. You are recognized devotee. Therefore, I request you to find out what is the defect in me that after inquiring, after doing so many books and literatures, I am not happy. So you, the same thing as Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, that the disturbances which I am feeling in the battlefield that can be solved by you only. Therefore, I am surrendering unto you as my spiritual master. No more friendly talks, and you just teach me. So this is the, I mean to say, eternal process. Even Vyasadeva is surrendering to Narada, such a great scholar. Even Arjuna is surrendering to Krishna. So why? Either you have to surrender to Krishna or Krishna's representative. Then there is solution. Otherwise, there is no solution. So we have to search out a Mahatma, a person who is simply a surrendered soul to Krishna, Vasudeva, and we have to surrender unto him. This is called disciplic succession. Then our problem will be solved. Otherwise, even a personality like Vyasadeva, he has problems. Even a personality like Arjuna, he has problems.
Yes, so problems will be there because that's the nature of the material world. So Prabhupada writes in the purport to Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, 7th verse. What is 2nd chapter, 7th verse? Yes, so in that purport Prabhupada writes that the nature of the material world is that it is full of perplexities, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master. And so therefore the nature of the world is there are going to be problems, there are going to be challenging situations, so many difficulties. But then how to come out? One has to surrender to a bona fide personality. That's the only solution. Okay.
That means he hinted that you are very much proud that you have written Vedanta Sutra. You don't think by writing your Vedanta Sutra God is pleased. Don't think so. It is clearly said, Manye Tad Darshanam. You have done wonderful work in writing Vedanta Sutra, but I think Tad Darshanam Kilam, it is insignificant. God is not satisfied because you are a very erudite scholar. God is satisfied by the love of gopis. They are not philosophers. They are not even brahmanas. They are not even man. Ordinary village girls, but their devotion for Krishna, oh, there is no comparison. There is no comparison. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya says, Ramya Kachi Rupasana Varjavadhu Varge. So that is the highest stage. How to love Krishna without any motive, without any material profit, without any personal consideration. That, if we can reach that, then Ayatma Suprasidati, then we will be satisfied. Otherwise, there is no satisfaction. It is simply useless waste of time.
Okay, so God is not satisfied because you're a very erudite scholar. God is satisfied by love, devotion. And what does that love and devotion mean? Without any motive, without any material profit, without any personal consideration, that is love. Then one can be satisfied. Yeah, Vishwanath Thakur's commentary on the 6th verse.
You have described me as the son of Parashar with a great lineage, with knowledge of the 4 Vedas and realization of Brahman. But you are the son of Brahma, omniscient, Agad Bodham, and worshipper of the Supreme Lord. In all ways, you thus surpass me. That is understood when Vyas says, you worship the Supreme Lord, Puranaha Purushaha Upasitaha. The word starting with Paravareshaha, because the Lord of cause and effect, further describe that Supreme Lord. That Lord Saha is certainly why you, Bhavan, since you, Narada, are an avatar of the Lord. Therefore, you know the whole secret and the secret behind all things, Samasta Guhyam.
Okay, fine. So in this way is glorifying Narad Muni, and therefore Narad Muni is qualified to solve this problem. Yes, Aditya, please.
So, Prabhuji, you were just mentioning, and it is a very established fact that just by serving the spiritual master, worshipping him without pretension, and strictly following the regulated principles, one is satisfied. But here we see that Vyasdev himself is saying that I worship my spiritual master.
So therefore that point we clarified, and that is what?
Service attitude.
In the case of Vyasadeva, yes, this is the Lord himself orchestrating the whole Leela. So Vyasadeva is perfect in all respects. There's no doubt about that. But then Lord himself created the vacuum, the dissatisfaction, so that all these wonderful lessons are taught to us. Just like Krishna orchestrated Arjuna to become bewildered on the battlefield. This is Krishna's plan, Krishna's orchestration for us to learn. So Vyasadeva is perfect. Okay, so now we'll proceed. Text 8. Now Narad Muni begins to give his instructions to Vyasadeva, and these are very important for all of us. Shri Narada Uvacha Bhavatanudita Prayam Yasho Bhagavato Malam Yene Vaso Natushyeta Manyeta Dharshanam Kilam. Shri Narad said, you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless. So here, Srila Prabhupada begins his purport by saying, okay, the eternal relation of an individual soul with the Supreme Soul Personality of God is constitutional one of being the eternal servitor of the eternal Master. So the Lord has expanded himself as living beings in order to accept loving service from them, and this alone can satisfy both the Lord and the living beings. Okay. So similar point Prabhupada made in our previous purport also. Further down he says, dry philosophical speculations even on the transcendental subject of the absolute have very little attraction without directly dealing with the glorification of the Lord. And the last paragraph, the compiler of the Vedanta Darshan is Vyasadeva himself. Yet he is troubled, although he is the author. So what sort of transcendental bliss can be derived by the readers and listeners of Vedanta, which is not explained directly by Vyasadeva the author? Okay. So if the author himself is not satisfied, how the readers will be satisfied? Herein arises the necessity of explaining Vedanta Sutra in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam by the self-same author. So here, Narad Muni is saying that Bhavata Anudita Prayam Yasha Bhagavata. So he's saying that you have Anudita Prayeshu. That means it's not complete. So Yasha Bhagavata, the glorification of the name, fame, form, glories of the Supreme Lord has not been completely done. It has been partially done, praya. And that glorification of the Lord is amalam, spotless. And so therefore, he says that manye tad darshanam khilam. So therefore the philosophy that you have given is khilam. Khilam means inferior. It is not the best. It is not the topmost because the glorification of the Lord is not complete. Text 9. Yatha dharmadhayaschartha muni varyanukirtitaha na tatha vasudevasya mahimahi anuvarnitaha. Although great sage, you have very broadly described the four principles beginning with religious performances, you have not described the glories of the Supreme Personality Vasudeva. So you see in the verse he says, Yatha dharmadaya chartha. So yatha, as much as you have described dharma adaya, dharma artha kama moksha. So as much as you have described this dharma artha kama moksha, Munivarya. So he's addressing Vyasadeva as Munivarya, great sage. Of course, Vyasadeva is no ordinary person. Anukirtita na tatha Vasudevas. So that much you have not glorified Vasudeva. As much as you have described Dharmartha Kama Moksha, in the same proportion you have not Anukirtita. You have not described the glories of the Lord. So, Prabhupada writes, the prompt diagnosis of Sri Narada is at once declared. The root cause of the despondency of Vyasadeva was his deliberate avoidance of glorifying the Lord in his various editions of the Puranas. He has certainly, as a matter of course, given description of the glories of the Lord, but not as many as given to religiosity, economic development, sense gratification. So there's a difference in proportion. He has glorified the Lord, no doubt, but not as much as dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Okay, let's read Vishwanath Thakur's commentary on this.
But I have described the wonderful qualities and pastimes of Krishna in the Padma Purana and others as well.
Okay, so this is what Vyasadeva is saying. So when Narad Muni said you have not sufficiently glorified, he says, but I have glorified in Padma Purana, other Puranas.
The word cha here means though. You have not described the glories of Vasudeva as much as you have described Artha, Dharma, Kama and Moksha as the goals of human life. Artha, even though they are much inferior to the glories of Vasudeva. Though Vasudeva is the crest jewel of human goals, you have not described him as the goal of human endeavor. Though you have described the glories of Krishna abundantly in many places, they have been described only as a means of getting moksha. How can your mind be satisfied when there is a lack of regard for that which should have been given the most regard.
Continue.
But I have described bhakti to be higher than liberation in many places in other scriptures. अन्यत्र पुण्यतीर्थेषु मुक्तिर एव महाफलम मुक्ते प्रार्थ्या हरेर भक्तिर मथुरायाम च लभ्यता. Liberation is the highest goal in visiting other holy places, but devotion to the Lord prayed for by the liberated souls can be obtained at Mathura, Padma Puran. But you have not done so repeatedly, na anu varnitaha. You must do so because it is said that the meaning of scriptures is revealed by repetition, as in Anandamaya Bhyasat. The Anandamaya Purusha is the Supreme Lord because of repetition of words to indicate this Vedanta Sutra 1.1.13. Your mind will be satisfied only when you describe very clearly with repetition the glories of the Lord, since those glories alone are finally the most excellent.
So this is a nice conversation. Okay, so initially Vyasadeva, he is sort of justifying, he's saying, I describe glories of the Lord in Padma Puran. So two defects Narad Muni is pointing out. One defect is that he did not glorify Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. This is one defect. The other defect he says is that even though he has described glories of the Lord, he described them as a goal, as a means to attain moksha. Okay. So the glorification of the Lord or devotional service has been used as a means to attain moksha, because without bhakti one cannot even achieve moksha. Bhakti is required even to achieve moksha. So therefore he says that the bhakti has been presented, the glories of the Lord have been presented, but they have been only described as a means of getting moksha. So these are the two defects Narad Muni is pointing out. So then Vyasadeva says, no, I describe bhakti also in many places. So he's giving a reference in the Padma Puran. I describe bhakti also. Then Narad Muni is pointing out a third defect. What is the third defect? He says, you have not done it repeatedly. Anuvarnita. Okay, so in this way, Narad Muni is pointing out three defects in what Vyasadeva has done. So repeatedly the glorification must be there. Then your mind will be satisfied when you repeatedly glorify. So therefore, we also have to repeatedly hear and repeatedly glorify, even though it may be the same subject matter. So that is what we are doing practically every day. Now many things are repeated. Every day we hear class in the morning. Every day we don't hear something new, isn't it? Some new philosophy doesn't come up every morning. It's practically the same. But then this repetition is required. Repetition. Anuvarnita. Anu means? Continuous. Anushilanam. Anu, continuous. It has to be continuous. Repetition. Okay, now coming to the famous verse.
Statements of Vyasadeva, is it an actual conversation?
So we find the acharyas always present commentaries in this way. So the acharyas, they, by their realization, they can sort of understand the minds. And of course here Vyasadeva was only writing. Here Vyasadeva only is writing. Of course, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is presenting sort of the mind of Vyasadeva and presenting it. Actually, he does it in many commentaries. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur presents. In Bhagavad Gita also he presents like a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. So they read in between the lines as this.
Also, though, like, here it is written that you have presented bhakti as means of getting liberation, devotional service. But even in Bhagavatam, they say like reading this, there is a falshruti. So then how to understand? Same thing we see there also in Bhagavatam.
No, but then, see, when such falshruti is presented, it means that when one achieves bhakti, the lower results are automatically achieved. So now it depends on the receiver, what he wants. Because bhakti can give everything. Because mukti, mukulitanjali, sevate asman. So when one becomes devotee, mukti is standing with folded hands at the door of the devotee. So therefore, Bhagavatam is presenting pure devotional service. That is the highest. So the ultimate goal of pure devotional service is prema. But then when the topmost is given, then what is lower down is automatically achieved. So therefore, those are automatically given. Moksha, material opulence. So therefore in Falashruti you will find all of that. But then it depends on me, what do I want? Then ye tamam prapadyanti. Then I get what I want. Okay?
But here he is presenting in other scriptures bhakti as means of getting liberation, not the ultimate.
Yes. So that's what Narad is pointing out.
This na anuvarchita, this you are not repeatedly describing. That is why this of the many things are not getting repeated. That is why the reason.
Of course, repetition is always required, it's always important so that something sticks inside. So of course, yes. That's correct.
While reading these talks between Narad Muni and Vyasadeva, we feel that Vyasadeva has committed these three defects by mistake. But in the purport, Prabhupada writes that Vyasadeva was his deliberate avoidance.
So that's what we already discussed that. So yes, so it's just like a drama. So drama is happening. When the drama is happening, it appears as if the actors are actually playing their roles, isn't it? But then there's a director who has purposefully directed the drama in that way.
No, means here Vyasadeva is saying, no, I have done this, I have
So that's what, no, this is a whole drama going on. So the drama appears real.
But here it is mentioned deliberate avoidance.
Arey, that's what, Baba. So yes, it is a deliberate because it is orchestrated by the Lord. So therefore it is deliberate. Now who is the Lord? Vyasadeva himself is the Lord.
So is he lying here?
Huh? No. So just like Arjuna. So Arjuna, he is presenting his questions, he's appearing so bewildered, he is presenting his questions to Arjuna like an ignorant person. Is he actually in ignorance? How can a pure devotee be in ignorance?
So that is the point only. Deliberate means intentionally he has done. He is not in bewilderment.
Yes. He is not in bewilderment, but he has intentionally done it according to the plan of the Lord, so that all these subject matters are clarified for our benefit.
So that he should have accepted in front of Narmuni that why I did it deliberately.
Somebody wants to give an answer to that?
Even we don't admit.
Huh?
Even we don't admit sometimes our mistakes.
Oh, that's another story. Huh, Bolu?
Suppose a play is going on, an actor in between says, we are not acting, we are not doing this is not actually happening, we are just acting, we are just lying. And the whole show will be over at that time.
There's no fun in the show.
Is he lying to his guru?
He is playing a role.
He's playing role Prabhuji. But he
For our benefit.
that is all right.
That is not all right, that is the only reason.
Sometimes in order to prove something, we know that we are going, like if a person had died, left his body to their relatives, we know he will not come back. When a small child comes, he says, no, he just left, he will come again. Like that, this is also like that only.
The point is that So Vyasadeva is playing a role, and so therefore, in the role, then everything has to be played perfectly, no? So therefore, then Vyasadeva is acting in a sort of ignorant way. He is acting as if he is clarifying. Basically, he's clarifying to his spiritual master. Okay, I've done this, but then spiritual master is saying, no, you have not done this. So there's clarification going on.
Now also Aditya Prabhu understood this, but he is asking different answers from a different.
Oh, I didn't know that. Takes time. न यद्वचश्चित्रपदं हरेर्यशो जगत्पवित्रं प्रगृहीत कर्हिचित् तद्वायसमुपीतमुशन्ति मानसा न यत्र हंसा विरमन्त्युशिक्षया. Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. Purport. Come on, Micah.
Crows and swans are not birds of the same feather because of their different mental attitudes. The fruitive workers or passionate men are compared to the crows, whereas the all perfect saintly persons are compared to the swans. The crows take pleasure in a place where garbage is thrown out, just as the passionate fruitive workers take pleasure in wine and women and places of gross sense pleasure. The swans do not take pleasure in the places where crows are assembled for the conferences and meetings. They are instead seen in the atmosphere of natural scenic beauty where there are transparent reservoirs of water nicely decorated with stems of lotus flowers in variegated colors of natural beauty. That is the difference between the two classes of birds. Nature has influenced different species of life with different mentalities, and it is not possible to bring them up into the same rank and file. Similarly, there are different kinds of literatures for different types of men of different mentality. Mostly, the market literatures which attract men of the crow's categories are literatures containing refused remnants of sensuous topics. They are generally known as mundane talks in relation with the gross body and subtle mind. They are full of subject matter described in decorative language, full of mundane similes and metaphorical arrangements. Yet, with all that, they do not glorify the Lord. Such poetry and prose on any subject matter is considered decoration of a dead body. Spiritually advanced men who are compared to the swans do not take pleasure in such dead literatures, which are source of pleasure for men who are spiritually dead. These literatures, in the modes of passion and ignorance, are distributed under the different labels, but they can hardly help the spiritual urge of the human being, and thus the swan-like spiritually advanced men have nothing to do with them. Such spiritually advanced men are called manasa. Also, because they always keep up the standard of transcendental voluntary service to the Lord on the spiritual plane. This completely forbids fruitive activities for gross bodily sense satisfaction or subtle speculation of the material egoistic mind. Social, literary men, scientists, mundane poets, theoretical philosophers, and politicians who are completely absorbed in the material advancement of sense pleasure are all dolls of the material energy. They take pleasure in a place where rejected subject matters are thrown. According to Swami Sridhar, this is the pleasure of the prostitute hunters. But literatures which describe the glories of the Lord are enjoyed by the Paramhamsas who have grasped the essence of human activities.
Okay. So this is talking about the difference between the crows and the swans, the crow-like people and the swan-like people, and essentially describing about useless subject matters which the crow-like people relish in. Okay, so unnecessary topics for discussion, like in today's morning class also Prabhupada was speaking about so many literatures in the market people are hearing and speaking, and one example Prabhupada gives about, yes, Diabetic Society and the magazine on diabetes. They're selling for $2, and anybody can afford $2, but they're making millions of dollars. So anyway, so much useless literature. Okay, so we would just like to have a discussion on this topic, which you may have discussed before, but then again, repetition, always. On Prajalpa, useless talks. Okay, so so on the topic, so you can note down questions. Okay, why does one indulge in prajalpa? Useless talks, useless activities. Okay, we're talking about devotees, and we're not talking about general. We're talking about devotees only. So why does a devotee indulge in prajalpa? Or before that, you can put one question as, what are the different activities that come under the category of prajalpa, under the title of prajalpa? What are the different types of activities that come under the title of prajalpa? That's the first question. The second question is, so why does a devotee tend to indulge in prajalpa? Third question is, what could be the possible consequences of prajalpa on one's own devotional practices? And the fourth question is solutions. Solutions to prevent and avoid, steps to be taken to avoid, prevent. All right, questions clear? Okay, fine. So you can make groups of 3 or 4. Fourth is steps to take to prevent, avoid. Okay, so just make groups of 3 or 4 and discuss these 4 questions. We'll give you 5 minutes, and then we'll go ahead with the discussion.
ये तो कर लिखो ना वाटर डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ एक्टिविटीज करते हैं ट्राई करो उसको ले जाकर लिखो ना सेकंड पार्ट में पहला क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करो लिखो जो याद है
different categories. Fill the name. Spiritual. आप लिखा है सबसे 2-3 दिन में बता के आप पूरा लिख
Why does Jyoti indulge in the
Yes, please.
less subject? Mind is not engaged fully.
Mind and body भी. No practical services.
Mind and body सब लिखो चित्त भी लिखो सब subconscious not
No absorption. No absorption of taste in spiritual activities. Chanting. No taste. पास ही है
वो उसमें फंक्शन नहीं है ऐसा कोई फंक्शन नहीं
Affects nature. Like not value devotees. Affects nature.
accessing to material topics. Different media like WhatsApp, Facebook, and then wants to share with the other people.
So much one thing about social media.
Taking
So much different.
taking from mass media and wants to share
Input from ये copy कर वो है ना losing patience. Offenses like losing taste,
कंपनी और ऐसे में आगे बढ़ते
creating trouble. Pulling legs pulling legs. Non-cooperation.
Hare Krishna. Do you require more time? Okay, 1 minute more.
Thus, we lose focus in our practices. मठ में लगता है Solution to associate with proper association.
So please decide who is going to be your spokesman of your group. Okay, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so let's begin with the first question. So what are the various activities that come under the category of Prajalpa? So first of all, that should be clear, then the further discussion can proceed. So what are the various activities that come under the category of Prajalpa? So let's begin from Sai Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Activities of more into going to the cricket, news, political, this thing.
Okay, that's okay. Any additions to that? Next group.
More going into like Ayurveda.
What Ayurveda?
Science and.
No, you said Ayurveda. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Huh?
Ayurveda means generally like all the trying for doing many yoga or exercise.
So is it good or not good?
Whatever required.
Okay, whatever required. So not too much excessive. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, any additions? Any other activities under the category of Prajalpa? Okay, Kurmakripa bro.
Talking about other Sampradaya Babajis and other religions also, and also amongst the devotees we do Prajalpa by basically fault finding, criticizing other
Fault
devotees.
finding, criticizing. Okay, yes, those are definitely activities of Prajalpa. You heard something?
The same point was there, extended to Christianity, and different religions also it can be extended.
Okay, fine. So similar point. Madhavi?
While preaching sometimes to boy, to just give some material comfort to him so that our talk will begin. We sometimes end up in then discussing a lot of that
Material things.
That during my engineering I used to do that and that how you are doing and all that subjects.
Past Leela.
Yeah. Discussion of past.
Okay.
Too much discussion on the topics within the ISKCON or news within the ISKCON that are not related to our service.
Okay.
Like female example.
Okay, ISKCON news. Okay, too much discussion on subject matters which may not be so relevant for us or which are not really within our zone of influence.
Material talks.
So all these are material talks. Okay, but okay, so useless material talks. Okay, fine. Harina.
Discussing among devotees management issues like he got selected, he got.
Okay, if it's irrelevant. Okay, irrelevant talks. Okay.
Mocking others, other devotees.
Okay, mocking, criticizing, all that. Okay, fine. Let's go to the next question. So, what are the probable causes of indulging in prajalpa? Okay, so we'll begin from that group there.
One of the biggest I have seen prajalpa happens in internet, surfing and things like that.
Okay, okay. So how does it happen on the internet? Huh?
There was type of prajalpa.
Oh, that's a type of prajalpa. Okay, okay, on the internet. Okay, fine. Okay, so now we go to the next question. So, what are the causes? Why does one indulge in prajalpa?
Lack of interesting engagements a devotee have. So because he don't have such engagements, devotional service, then the taste is not coming. Then he has previous such talks. So again his mind goes and he involved and he find out such association of prajalpa devotees and he relish.
Okay, fine. So basically, not having sufficient devotional engagements. Okay, good point. Next group.
Being not accountable to someone.
Okay, so how does that affect?
So nobody knows what he's doing. He has a good opportunity and he has enough time to do.
Okay, fine. So one is not accountable to any superiors. So therefore, sadhana, seva, what he's doing, no accountability. So one has a lot of time to indulge. Okay, fine. Here, next group.
Second point Krishna said, because higher taste has not yet developed, so he is taking tests from such lower discussions. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So no higher taste, then one has to go to the lower taste.
Very weak sadhana, he is not feeling sadhana, and that's why I'm.
Okay, so weak sadhana, no spiritual engagement, so therefore then material engagement. Okay.
Some like taking lots of inputs from mass media, social media. Then there is a desire of subtly sharing to others that I know everything.
Yes.
Like a corona.
What goes in has to come out.
Yeah, corona news or
Yes,
something.
so,
There is a concession in railway ticket, how to find out fast tickets. Then long discussion goes on in Brahmacharya ashram, sometimes like that.
Okay, fine. So getting a lot of information, unnecessary information, then one feels like sharing. Okay, here. हो गया आपका एक ही ग्रुप है ना?
Previous conditioning, to discuss or socialize.
Okay, so previous conditioning, sanskaras, habits.
For puja lava.
How?
So when devotees are speaking, somebody enters and wants to show that I know more than you. So you all people show attention to me.
Okay, so one wants to show that he has more knowledge, more information.
Puja lava.
Okay, so for the purpose of puja lava. Okay, fine.
A lot of free time.
Lot of free time, yes, lot of free time, no spiritual engagements.
Ignoring the value of time.
Okay, not understanding the value of time, okay.
Sometime among the devotees he gets not good association, so sometimes those devotees who are actually want to share their prajalpa talks, so he gets their association.
Okay, so bad association, yes, that's one of the very important causes. Okay, so wrong association. Please.
No taste in Krishna Bhakti is the main cause of pressure.
Okay, fine. So no taste in Krishna conscious activities, then one has to stoop down to the lower taste. Okay, fine. Okay, so those are a good number of causes why one indulges in prajalpa. So now we go to the next question, that is consequences. Okay, you want to share some, what could be the consequences of prajalpa?
First of all, the main consequences of the Prajalpa is we will bring defame to not only ISKCON but to Krishna also.
Okay, fine. There could be defaming. Okay, that's correct. Next group here. This way, this way. Hey, why same person is speaking? Different people should speak.
Actually, we lose bhakti also, makes it.
Lose bhakti, why?
It's causing greater realization.
Why?
Aparad, committing aparad and
Okay, yes, because of criticism, blasphemy, there could be aparads, and because of that, yes, bhakti could be affected. Good. Next.
Services will be affected.
Why?
Relationship will spoil.
Why services will be affected?
Because we are wasting time. So
Mm.
obviously.
Okay, so wastage of time, yes, services will be affected. Okay, next.
We feel dissatisfied and lazy in ourselves.
Why?
Like, because we are not sufficiently engaged in spiritual practices.
Mm. Yes, because there are no sufficient spiritual practices, so yes, dissatisfaction. Okay, good. No, not same person.
Like little different opinion I have.
Welcome.
I think for few people it may work also, like they can progress also, like not progress but at least be fixed in devotional service also, because at least Prajalpa is not breaking regulative principles and nothing like that. And initial, just like Manoram Prabhu was saying, for preaching we start with Prajalpa. So whatever taste for finding taste, he has to go outside. He is getting it inside only. And gradually, after a while, he may realize that okay, I will have to gradually, he may enter into the real devotional service, devotional practices. So I just at this point.
So then how? So what's the consequence?
Consequences is he will at least stay among the group of devotees only, and maybe after a while he will get inspired by some good devotees, and then he will take.
What if he gets inspired by the bad association? He continues to get inspired by the bad association. Then?
I mean, I am talking about the initial phase only.
Okay, but initial phase only. So initial phase only. So he is continuing with the Prajalpa.
Yes.
And then because you're a Vaishnava, you want to see everything from positive viewpoint. That is very good. So, but if suppose he continues with the wrong association, and then what will happen?
I mean,
Next stage.
for finding, the taste that he is getting in Prajalpa, he may go outside the devotee circle for finding the same taste.
Correct.
So for that he is saying, I am staying in group of devotees. Let me engage 50% of my time in Prajalpa, but at least rest of the 50% I am.
And if he continues like that, then what will happen?
So the rest of the 50% that he is engaging in devotional service, that time will expand itself and go to 60, 70 gradually.
What if the time of Prajalpa, if that expands? Then what?
Of course, there is a risk. But
there is a risk.
Of
Yes,
course, we should not do that. But I am saying, for few people, it can go other way around also.
But there is a risk.
Yes.
It is just like if you put somebody can say that by putting fuel in the fire can get extinguished also.
Yes.
What is the probability?
So the quantity needs to be just. needs to be
just exact. So big risk, no? Big risk. If it is, if the quantity of fuel is a little less than what is required to extinguish the fire, if it's little less, then what will happen? The fire will go ablaze. So should we take risk or better take the safe side?
Yeah, of course, better take the safe side.
Good. Thank you.
But no, just like Vyasdev.
No, that's good. Otherwise, some Prajalpa is happening here also. Hey, here आगे दे दो इनको.
The mind gets polluted, so we lose focus in our daily practices.
Yes, the mind gets polluted.
Yes, we are so much munching upon this material subject matter.
Correct. Yes, good point. Next.
Separatist mentality will come. That means that devotee will not like to be with devotees, good devotees, but he like to be separate in his room or separate place somewhere like that.
Right. So one can develop separatist mentality. Yes, good point.
So sincere devotees will go away if they don't find serious devotees around. So.
Okay, the sincere devotees may feel discouraged if that sort of atmosphere continues. Yes, good point. ये तीनों का ग्रुप है ना यहाँ पे? शरद प्रभु and company.
Lead to Vaishnava offenses, Vaishnava track.
Why?
Criticize, like we may speak some things.
Okay, criticism, blasphemy could lead to offenses. Correct.
More hankering for love, puja, pratishtha will be there.
Okay, material desires increase because of material consciousness. Okay, could leave devotional service also. Okay, fine. Any other consequences somebody wants to add? Okay, piche de do.
Loss of time and energy.
Kala.
His culture.
So he is conscious of his name. Kal. Yes. Loss of time. Time precious.
While indulging prajalpa, we are absorbing in matter. So when such more absorption is there in matter, then hankering for the matter will increase. The material thing, pujala, pratishtha,
Yes. Material desires increase. Correct. Okay, good. I think we have covered all the points, correct? Anybody has any desperate point to speak? Okay. No, we're not taking questions now. We are not taking answers now. No simple question. All questions later. All questions are simple. Okay, so now the third question. Fourth question. Okay, solutions. Okay, so Gopalanand Prabhu can tell us some solutions.
We should be with devotees whose engagement or they are regulated or they are in proper sadhana, so that with their association we will avoid doing prajalpa.
Okay, fine. Good association. Good. That way. बोलो दुर्गा प्रसाद प्रभु.
Okay, one can take more responsibilities. More responsibilities one can take.
Okay, take more responsibilities, be more engaged in Krishna service, so there's less time for prajalpa. Yes, good.
On regular basis, we should re-evaluate and restate ourselves. Like, are we aligned and we are not going into prajalpa?
Okay, so you would like to explain a little bit what you mean by it's a good point.
Yeah, through like deliberation of Vyasdev, we have to introspect. What activities are there? Are we regularly?
Okay, are we properly utilizing our time? Okay, good point. Yes.
Such courses like Bhakti Vaibhav. So these are arranged to increase the Krishna consciousness so that we can understand the importance of avoiding prajalpa and particularly engage in some devotional services.
Yes, Shastric studies definitely help. Yes, be absorbed in study of the Shastra, especially for brahmacharis, very important. Svadhyaya is one of the important duties for brahmacharis.
Restrict the use of gadgets.
Which gadgets?
Mobiles, laptops,
So,
social media.
So what is your restrict? Restrict means what?
Means
how much time?
According to the need of the service, they should be given the gadgets.
Okay, fine. So use only according to the service need. the need of service. Good point, yes.
Absorb or drown ourselves in studying Srimad Bhagavatam and hearing Krishna Katha, Shanvata, Swagata, Krishna.
Okay, be absorbed in hearing, chanting. Yes, good. संजय प्रभु को तो अभी तक कुछ बोला ही नहीं.
Avoid wrong association.
Okay, avoid wrong association. Okay, fine.
Reiteration of our spiritual goals. The purpose we came here, reiterating the spiritual goals and values.
Yes, good point. Reminding ourselves of the spiritual goals, why we have come to Krishna consciousness. Yes, good point.
By becoming the preacher of Krishna consciousness, because when somebody preaches, naturally he has to spend a lot of time reading and explaining to other people.
Okay, fine. Yes, that's good point. Be busy. Be busy in preaching. If one has to preach, then one has to hear. So then one can.
You should do more Krishna Katha and replace Prajalpa with Krishna Katha.
Okay, replace Prajalpa with Krishna. Oh, good.
Regular retreats should be there for devotees.
What was that?
Regular retreats.
Oh, what do you do in the retreats?
Because sometimes.
Otherwise, retreats, Prajalpa in the retreats.
In the sense of more engagement or more service activities.
Okay, that's good. Retreats are good if they're fully Krishna conscious. Yes, that's right.
Guruji, more personal association of gurus or high advance.
Okay, association, good association always helps. कुछ बाकी है कुछ?
Ecstatic chanting, dancing and crying for Krishna is the main solution to prevent the bhajan.
Yes, if one is floating in the ecstasy of Krishna praying, then no more problems.
Taking darshanam.
Yes, that's definitely the ultimate solution. Krishna praying, yes. All problems will be solved if one comes to Krishna. Huh?
I was telling Prabhuji takes a lot of nicely darshan also.
That's also good, yes. I mean, that's from details. Any other points? Okay, good, fine,
Whenever we meet with devotees, rather than doing such whatever mentioned activities, we should share our services, something, and we should share reading points, some realization, then that can be avoided, or the result can be avoided.
Correct, good, yes. Who said?
Fearful about such situation.
What's that?
Fearful.
Be fearful.
Fearful, okay, yes. Be fearful of Prajalpa, yes. Be fearful of Maya. Healthy fear of Maya, yes. Good point, very good point, yes. Having a healthy fear of Maya. So thank you for your wonderful contributions. I would just like to read a few points from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhakti Aloka, where he is describing about Prajalpa. All right. So in the initial part, he just speaks about how Prajalpa actually could be a positive thing also. When it is, so the Mahajans have respectfully engaged in Prajalpa that's favorable to devotional service, and this is our only duty. Sometimes puffed-up devotees advise that all types of Prajalpa should be given up, but we are followers of Srila Rupa Goswami. Being followers of Rupa Goswami will always stick to the path shown by the sadhus who are following his instructions. Okay. So basically he says Prajalpa means basically discussion. Prajalpa in a general sense means discussion. But he also says that but nowadays discussions, talking with one another is called Jalpana or Prajalpa. Nowadays in this world, godlessness is so prominent that conversing with others means godless talk. Therefore, it is not profitable for a practicing devotee to engage in jalpana. So, jalpana, prajalpa. Of course, on the spiritual platform, even Radharani's talks are also called as. Anyway, that's at a different level. So therefore he says, therefore the conclusion is this: all prajalpas that are unfavorable to Krishna's service are adverse to devotion. Krishna should carefully give up prajalpa. Okay. So then he says that godless prajalpas are impediments to devotional service. There are of many types: useless talks, arguments, gossip, debates, fault finding in others, speaking falsehoods, blaspheming devotees, and worldly talk are all called prajalpa. So all these activities come under the category of prajalpa. And then he describes each one of them. So useless talk is extremely detrimental. Practicing devotees should discuss topics of Lord Hari in the association of other devotees, and remember Hari's name, form, qualities and pastimes in a secluded place without uselessly wasting time. And then we know these famous verses, Machitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam. So that's what devotees should be doing. Or Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Tridavrata. In this way, the practicing devotee should cultivate unalloyed devotion. If they spend their days and nights uselessly talking with materialists, then the Lord's instruction, always chanting my glories, will not be followed. Correct? So this is one of the consequences. The Lord's instruction, Satatam Kirtayanto, will not be followed. It says in newspapers there is so much useless talk. For the practicing devotee to read newspaper is a great loss. But if there are topics about pure devotees described in the newspaper, then that can be read. After finishing their meal, mundane people normally smoke, engage in useless talk with other godless people. It is certainly difficult for them to become followers of Srila Krishna. Reading novels is the same, but if one gets a novel with a story like that of Puranjan in the Srimad Bhagavatam, reading that is not an impediment, rather it's beneficial. That's about useless talk. Then the second category of prajalpa is argument. Argument is a prajalpa that's adverse to devotional service. All the arguments of the followers of Nyaya and Vaisheshika are simply godless quarrels. They do not yield any result. So the result of argument is these two things, he says. The result of arguments are what? Wasting the mind's strength and increasing one's restlessness. So I'm sure we have this experience. If we argue with someone, what happens? Mind gets agitated. Mind gets agitated. Wasting of mind strength, increasing one's restlessness. Therefore, in the Vedas it is said, Naisha Tarkena Matir Apaneya. This intelligence cannot be attained by argument. The living entity's proper discretion is eternally established in his natural intelligence. Also, another effect he says is, by arguing about directions, places, mistakes, and illusions, the heart becomes tough. That's another effect of argument. The heart becomes tough. Then natural discretion no longer remains. And another effect also he is saying is one's mind by accepting the Vedic Dashamula instructions, that is the Shastra, and arguing accordingly, one's mind does not become wicked. So even if there are arguments, but if they're based on Shastra, then it's the mind does not become wicked. What is good, what is bad? When such deliberations are based on the Vedas, that is no longer prajalpa. So even if there are some arguments, but if it's based on the Shastra, then it's not prajalpa. Ateva Bhagavad Karaha Vichar. Study Srimad Bhagavatam very scrutinizingly. He's quoting from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mahaprabhu is given the instruction. And then he's quoting Sarvam Bhattacharya. Tarkika Shrigala Sange Bhaigoi Kari Sei Mukha Eve Sada Kahi Krishna Hari. In the association of jackals known as logicians, I simply continue to bark a resounding Bhoigo. Now from the same mouth, I am chanting the holy names Krishna and Hari. So he says, useless arguments arise from envy or pride, aversion or attachment to sense gratification, or foolishness or self-pride. So one wants to prove oneself great, there's pride, so then one uselessly argues. So we again know the examples of Rupa Goswami and that Rup Kaviraj, correct? No, Rup Narayan. Rup Narayan. So he came to argue with them. Then what Rupa Goswami did? Okay, I'm defeated. Why waste time in unnecessary argument? So, but if one wants to prove one's point and then unnecessarily argue, then it's simply waste of time. Then another type of prajalpa is talking without reason about other people is extremely adverse to devotional service. Many people talk about others to establish their own reputation. Being envious, some people are accustomed to discuss others' character. The minds of those who are busy in such topics can never be fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna. Talking about others should be rejected in all respects. But in the practice of devotional service, there are many favorable topics that are faultless, even though they are about others. In order to completely renounce talking about others, one needs to live in the forest. There are two different types of practicing devotees of the householders and renunciants. Because the renunciants have no business whatsoever with sense enjoyment, they can give up talking about others in all respects. But householder, because he's engaged in earning savings, so he may have to talk some of these things. He should not talk about others in a way that is detrimental to anyone. He should talk about others only whatever little is necessary in his Krishna conscious family. Okay, so sometimes one may have to talk about some negative activities of someone just to instruct others, to protect others. For that sake, sometimes one may have to talk. But then he should not talk about others in a way that's detrimental to anyone. It should be instructive, or it should be helpful. He should not talk about others without reason. Moreover, when a guru enlightens his disciple on some topic, then unless he occasionally talks about others, his instructions may not be clear. Okay, so in that case, he may give examples of someone or something like that. And when previous Mahajans have talked about others in this way, there is merit in such talk, not fault. So then he's quoting Shukdev Goswami, Nidra Rite Naktam Vyavayana. So all these are the activities of the materialists. So it appears that here Shukdev Goswami is blaspheming the materialists. But this is for what? Yes, this is for our benefit, that what we should not do. So there's a purpose for this criticism. Although Shukdev Goswami talks about the materialist in order to instruct his disciple, he is not considered a prajalpi. Therefore, such activity should be considered beneficial. Again, in order to instruct his own disciples, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke about pseudo-renunciants. Okay, so unless one speaks in this way while instructing and while concluding a subject, there is no benefit for oneself or others. Therefore, when the previous acharyas have personally set example and taught others, how will we be benefited by acting contrary to the instructions? And if one discusses in this way the improper behavior current in a religious sect or amongst the general public, then such talk is not adverse to devotional service. So even if we speak something which appears to be critical, there must be some benefit out of it. But those who talk about others while influenced by devotional impediments, like envy, hatred, pride, or distinction, are offenders at the feet of Bhakti Devi. Okay, so if one is criticizing others and talking because of envy and pride, then that's an impediment. So then debate arises only from a desire for conquest. It's extremely abominable. Fault finding arises only from imposing one's own bad habits on others. This should be given up in all respects. Speaking falsehoods is another form of useless talk. Worldly talk is completely rejected by renounced devotees. Speech in the form of blaspheming sadhus is a source of great inauspiciousness. If one wants to attain devotion to Lord Hari, then he should make a vow like this: in this life I will never blaspheme sadhus. Devotees are sadhus. By blaspheming them, all one's virtues are destroyed. By blaspheming the supremely pure Lord Mahadev, Prajapati Daksha, the best of the ascetics, met with severe inauspiciousness. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Ayu Shriyam Yasho Dharmam Lokan Ashisha Evacha Hanti Shriyamsi Sarvani Pumso Mad Atikrama. My dear king, when a man persecutes great souls, all his benedictions of longevity, beauty, fame, religion, blessings, and promotion to higher planets will be destroyed. The conclusion of this essay is this: whatever prajalpa is not favorable for devotional service should be carefully given up by Vaishnavas who are cultivating bhakti. Amongst these instructions, the instruction to tolerate the urge to speak, mentioned in the first verse, Vacho Vegam, is only a conditional urge. By giving up Prajalpa, the urge to speak is permanently regulated. In order to pass one's life without sin, one should not speak anything more than whatever little is necessary. One need discuss only whatever is auspicious for oneself and others. If one wants to discuss topics of others, it will simply be useless speech. Therefore, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna instructed Uddhav as follows: Parasvabhava karmani ya prashamsati nandati sa ashu brashyate swarthat asati abhiniveshat. Whoever indulges in praising or criticizing the qualities and behavior of others will quickly become deviated from his own best interest by his entanglement in illusory dualities. Okay, so this is what he's speaking about. All right?
But you were mentioning that argument on the basis of Shastra, that is not present. Many times you find that Shastra also have many angles. It will not get at the end of it. So it will not present.
Okay, so of course, I mean, it all depends on what's the topic under discussion and whether there is some conclusive evidence from scripture. So it depends. Otherwise, each one is presenting his own points. There's no end to the argument. There's no use. If there is some definitive conclusions mentioned in the scriptures, then that's when one can present that. Otherwise, each one is presenting his own point, and there's no end to the argument. What's the use?
Regarding Prajalpa, sometimes some devotee comes and they used to share many things regarding which are not related to Krishna consciousness. So that time, because he was sharing, so we need to hear. So, and when we say.
So why we need to hear?
When we say when we neglect, then he feel offended, like he's not giving me his time like that. So how to deal in such situation?
So what is better?
Neglect.
So we can humbly excuse ourselves. We can say, sorry, I have something else to do. We can always intelligently avoid. Okay, Prabhupada's lecture on the verse. Please read. Where the mic is?
Chitra Padam. You can write nice books using your literary career, metaphor, and so many things. But if there is no glorification of the Lord, then it is just like the place where the crows take pleasure. That is all.
You can pass the mic.
So he is comparing all the books written by Vyasadeva, including the Vedanta philosophy. He says that this is
Vayasam Tirtham.
Vayasam means crows. Have you seen crows?
Crow.
The crows, you will find they will take pleasure in a place where all nasty things are thrown, garbage. They will pick out the garbage, find out where there is mucus, where there is pus, just like flies. They will sit down on the stool.
There was an incident in my life. I was, of course, at that time householder. So one my friends, he was going to cinema with his family, and he saw me. I was in the street, and he immediately stopped his car and asked me that, "You come, we are going to cinema." So I refused that. If you give me $1,000, still I shall not go to cinema.
So, maybe some Bollywood cinema. So here, just coming back to the verse, Nayad Vachas Chitrapadam Harer Yasho. So, Vacha means, as Prabhupada translates, vocabulary, very nice vocabulary. Chitrapadam, decorative language, as Prabhupada says, similes, metaphors. But there is no Harer Yashaha. The Harer Yasha, which Jagat Pavitram. So, if the Harer Yasha, the glories of the Lord which purifies the universe, is not there, then that is Tatvaisam Tirtam, Ushanti, Manasa. So here, Manasa has two meanings. One is the literal meaning in the verse. The literal meaning in the verse of Manasa is in the analogy of the crows and the swans, the word Manasa refers to the Mansarovar lake. Prabhupada is describing so beautiful lakes, water nicely decorated with stems of lotus flower in variegated colors of natural beauty. So it refers to the Mansarovar lake, and the comparison of that is to the Paramhamsas. So the word Manasa also means the Paramhamsas, who like such places, so referring to the swans. Na yatra hamsa. So, the Manasa refers to actually the mind of those who are situated in Sattva. Manasa refers to the mind, which is situated in Sattva predominantly. And Hamsa refers to, in the analogy, it refers to the Hamsas, that is the swans, and compared to the Paramhamsas. And Ushikshaya refers to lakes with lotuses. On those, and the Paramhamsas, they reside in the transcendental abode. So Prabhupada writes a beautiful statement almost towards the end of the purport. Such spiritually advanced men are called also Manasa. Yes, so the word Manasa also refers to the spiritually advanced men, because they always keep up the standard of transcendental voluntary service to the Lord on the spiritual plane. The standard of transcendental voluntary service. So ultimately it's voluntary. Devotional service is voluntary. And it's up to us whether we want to keep up the standard or not. It's every individual's responsibility. So, but those who are spiritually advanced, then they keep up that standard. Nobody else can keep up the standard for somebody else. Each one of us as devotees, if we are interested in making spiritual advancement, then we need to keep up that standard. Transcendental voluntary service to the Lord on the spiritual plane. Okay, it's fine. So we're going to the next verse. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abhadavatyapi namanyanantasya yasho ankitani yat shrinvanti gayanti grananti sadavaha. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a different creation full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misguided civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. At the beginning of the purport, Prabhupada writes, it's a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. It is said that the intelligent man should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchables. So this is Chanakya Pandit's Niti Shastra. So these are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. But a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. And as a result of propagating the transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, people will become sane in their transactions. So, as the verse is saying, Yasmin Pratishlokam Abadhavati Api. So, even though there may be some mistakes, some irregular composition in such transcendental literature, but still, those who are sadhava, those who are honest, they will accept the essence. So, therefore, Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas explain about two types of mentality: housefly and the honeybee. So, what does the housefly do? Even though there are a beautiful garden of lotuses, the housefly goes to the garbage. And the honeybee, even though there may be garbage, goes to a flower. So again, it is our choice whether we want to be like houseflies or whether we want to be like honeybees, even in the association of devotees. So here, Prabhupada is quoting this from Chanakya Nidhi, and is saying that one needs to take the essence and not focus on some apparent faults. There's a pastime in Chaitanya Leela of, there are two pastimes. One pastime is Ishwar Puri, he gave his book to Nimai Pandit to edit. Correct? And then Nimai Pandit, he refused. He said, of course in the Leela he was just becoming a devotee, but still he understood the value of the transcendental literature written by Ishwar Puri. So he said, I cannot find faults in this literature. It will be a great offense to do so. He refused, but still Ishwar Puri insisted. Then he found some mistake, Ishwar Puri said. So, but then the point is that yes, so therefore Mahaprabhu, he said, no, I cannot find faults. This is transcendental literature. Even if there are faults, the Lord will accept. And I think there was pastime between Mahaprabhu and Vallabh Bhatt. I'm not remembering so clearly. Anybody remembers? No, again a similar pastime where I think so Mahaprabhu told Vallabh Bhatt to edit his book, correct? Anyway, fine. So, okay, Rupa Goswami gave his book to Vallabh Bhatt to edit, right? And then what happened? Okay, so Vallabh Bhatt didn't edit it. Okay, he didn't accept. Okay. So in any case, the point is that yes, so we need to see the essence. We need to see the essence and not be too much interested in the faults, especially in transcendental literatures. So sometimes we may even try to find some faults. We may find some faults in Prabhupada's literatures also, but then that's so one should take the essence, and one should not find faults and make that the essence. And then so many debates could go on that. One should see the essence. So the quality of a Vaishnava is sargrahi. He should take the essence, and to take the essence, one should first of all know what is the essence. Did you hear that story of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and the Haritaki? What is it?
His servant, one day Mahaprabhu, after honoring Prasadam,
No, not this. This is not history. This is a story of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, like an analogical story, which is to give a lesson. Anybody heard that? No. Okay, fine. So there was a spiritual master who was invited by one of his disciples for lunch prasad. For lunch, anyways, where this prasad is. So he went, and the disciple offered a nice big feast, and after the feast, so they offer some digestive, no? some mouth freshener, digestive. So he gave haritaki. You know haritaki? In Triphala you find haritaki. So anybody has seen the haritaki fruit? Okay. So the disciple thought that most probably in any fruit the skin is to be thrown and whatever is in the center is most important. So that is what he thought. He was speculating. So he threw away all the skins and the middle seed he kept. And so he kept the seeds and nicely decorated on the plate and he brought before the Guru. And so when the Guru saw, the Guru asked, "What is this?" He said, "Haritaki." "But what is this?" "This is only seed." The most important part of the haritaki is the skin. That is most important. You have thrown that. What is the use of these seeds? Useless. Take it away. So a disciple. So next day also the Guru was staying for the next day also lunch. So next day the disciple thought of changing the menu. So he thought, so on this day he thought of giving elaichi. But he had learned the lesson from yesterday. So he thought that yes, skin is important. Whatever is in the center is not important. So he took all the elaichis, kept the skins very carefully, and what is in the center, threw away. And then he brought, nicely decorated on the plates, he brought in front of the Guru. And so the Guru picked up one of them. And what is this? Elaichi! But there is nothing inside, only skin. Guru Maharaj, you only told yesterday, whatever is in the center is not important. The skin is more important. So Guru said, "Oh, you're so foolish, you don't understand simple things. Useless fellow. You don't understand what is the essence." So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur tells the story to make this point that how one should first of all know what is the essence. If one doesn't know what is the essence, then one will take what is not the essence to be the essence. Asatyera satya korimani. One will mistake the asat to be sat and sat to be asat. So therefore, first of all, one should know what is the essence, what is to be accepted, what is to be rejected. These things should be clear. Otherwise, one could make mistakes. So therefore, Prabhupada is saying one should know what is the essence. And therefore, Prabhupada translates sadhava as purified men who are honest. So therefore, first of all, one has to be honest as to what is my goal. For what have I come to spiritual life? One has to be honest. If one is not honest, and of course, to have the correct, honest attitude, then one must be purified. If one is purified, then one will have the right attitude. So if one is not purified, then it's difficult to be honest because then one will be deviated by so many other motives and desires because one is not purified. And then one gets distracted on what is not the essence. Okay? So, the important point here is, of course, that is how the polluted atmosphere of the world will change as a result of broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Lord, the Srimad Bhagavatam. And so therefore, the more we speak about the Lord, the more the atmosphere will change and people will be affected by that vibrations. And so therefore, that's what Srila Prabhupada, he did. From morning to night, that was practically what he was doing. He was continuously speaking about Krishna. And so we see what a revolution. Janataga Viplavo. Viplava means revolution. And that's exactly what Srila Prabhupada did. He brought about revolution in the entire world by these transcendental literatures. What a revolution. Now, how many people's lives all over the world have been transformed? Millions. Millions. So why? Because of this transcendental literature, transcendental vibrations that are spreading all over the world. And then Prabhupada describes how he's talking about the India-China war. So this is, as we were discussing, bringing the subject matter, making the subject matter relevant to the modern day audience. So he's speaking about the India-China war. And that he says the cause of this is the age of Kali. There's always a chance of quarrel and slight provocation. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of this age. Systematically, there's a propaganda by a section of people to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, there's a great need for disseminating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. And Prabhupada is giving a responsibility for every one of us. It is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good, as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. And then he says, we are confident that if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart, and naturally the people in general will follow them. And then further down he says, we know that our honest attempt to present this great literature conveying transcendental messages for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail, and there will be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. So you can see Prabhupada's humility and honesty. But we are sure. So you can see Prabhupada's confidence. Again and again he says, we are confident, we are sure. This is Prabhupada's faith. That faith is what actually transforms everyone. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of society will still accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty God. And then he's given the example of fire in the house. Then language doesn't matter, people understand. And then further down, he says, after all, it is a technical science of spiritual values. And thus we are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of this great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. So what is the meaning of these techniques? Chanting. Basically the process of devotional service. So if the process is understood, which is of course the main part of the process is the chanting of the holy names and hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. So if one does this, then the transformation will take place. Then the language doesn't matter. And further down in the next paragraph he writes, the people in general want to read, that is a natural instinct. But because their minds are polluted, they want such literature. Such literature means materialistic literatures. Under the circumstances, transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also it will supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy. But we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. When men have a taste for this literature, the other literatures which are catering poison to society will then automatically cease. So we need to be careful that sometimes we have seen that devotees, for preaching purposes, they tend to read too much of other literatures. But we have to be extremely careful. So, as we have been discussing about Prajalpa, so if we get too much into it, then we are simply polluting our minds and consciousness. And sometimes it does happen, and we have seen these things happening, that sometimes devotees read too much of these other literatures, both devotional, non-devotional, in the name of preaching, and then what happens as a result of this is they lose taste and they lose appreciation for Srila Prabhupada's books. Not only that, in some cases, devotees even get into the zone of finding faults with Srila Prabhupada's books. This is all due to asatsang. So therefore one has to be extremely careful. Therefore here we find Prabhupada is again, he's emphasizing Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the literatures which we need to stick to. And then as we read, even though initially there may not be taste. So initially there's a taste for materialistic literature. And so the tendency is always there to go into that zone. But we are putting ourselves into problems. So one should be careful. Only in the name of preaching also, only if it's absolutely required, one should venture into such zones. Otherwise, there's enough material in Srila Prabhupada itself. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults, for it is recommended by Sri Narada, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. So, Srila Prabhupada is personally seeing the presence of Narad Muni. So he is not just writing it, but he is actually physically, he's feeling the presence of Narad Muni as he's writing. Okay, so he's actually into the Leela. He's not simply writing, but actually he's meditating on Narad Muni as he's writing. So, therefore, these purports are not ordinary purports. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vranda ki. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Okay, so we'll continue our discussions tomorrow. So tomorrow we have one class, right? 11 to 1:30. Is it okay?